hopefully don't. The action takes place at Polycarp Hall, a large Edwardian house in the countryside. It's winter and the house is surrounded by snow. There are two scenes here, Lorraine Knight's study and the drawing room, which adjoins to it. Both rooms have panelled walls, and the drawing room has a large French window overlooking the terrace. There's also a painting on the wall depicting the former owner of the house, Elizabeth Parrott. The study is book-lined, and some of the bookshelves mask a secret passage. So, Act 1, Scene 1. The study at Polycarp Hall. Lorraine Knight sits at her desk in darkness, working on a vintage typewriter. As the play begins, Lorraine is initially in spotlight until we see the whole study. Lorraine draws a sheet out of the typewriter and reads it silently, with a smile.
Not bad, if I say so myself.
She puts a fresh sheet into the typewriter and sets to work, when there is a bang at the door.
Come in.
Mildred Gray bumbles into the room with an air of indignant clumsiness. Her apron is covered in cake ingredients.
Ever so sorry to disturb you, Miss Knight, when you're so busy with your writing and all, but your guest is starting to arrive.
My guests are starting to arrive, Mrs. Gray.
Yes, miss, I just told you that.
Never mind. So who's here and who are we waiting for? Is my cousin looking after them?
Well, Miss Crimson is here, and she's no better than she ought to be, if you ask me. And yes, miss, your cousin Colonel Coleman is looking after her. Well, I'll say he is. But I suppose that's allowed, since he is her fiancé.
Fiancé, Miss Gray.
With respect, miss, that's what I said. And the Reverend Lime is here. He weren't invited, like. He said he was just passing by. A natural-born gossip, if you ask me. I know he's a man of the cloth, but I don't trust him as far as I can throw him.
I imagine you can throw him quite far.
So we're just waiting for the guests of honour, the foreign man and the lady and their friends?
I see.
Shall I serve them some rock cakes?
I don't think anyone's drunk enough for your rock cakes, Mrs. Gray. I don't know how many times I need to tell you, rock cakes shouldn't be made with actual rocks.
They were supposed to be fondant fancies for Monsieur Pierrot, to make him feel at home like, but the oven is misbehaving. It was never like this in the old days, if you don't mind me saying, miss. I do miss the old mistress sometimes. Not that I don't like you, but Mrs. Parrott were a proper lady, and no mistake.
Until she ran off with Professor Prune.
Well, it ain't fair to judge affairs of the heart.
It isn't fair to judge, Mrs. Gray.
I know, miss. I just told you that. Oh, I do miss Mr. Gray sometimes. He were a good husband. Everyone ought to marry Miss Knight.
Right. Perhaps serve them some sherry. I'll be along in a minute. I just need to finish this chapter.
There ain't no sherry left, Miss Knight. Yep.
But it was new last week. Who drank it all?
I think you mean whom drank it all, miss?
Having scored in her imagination a point, Mrs. Gray exits the study. And now we're in the drawing room. On a sofa sit Colonel Charles Coleman and Camilla Crimson, canoodling. Reverend Julius Lime stands at the window observing the terrace. Mrs. Gray emerges from the study.
Miss Knight will be out shortly. She's just writing a book.
When isn't she?
Camilla, darling, you know the kind of family you're marrying into. I always told you my cousin was a writer.
Hardly a writer. She's a gossip columnist.
Steady, darling. She's a biographer now.
Mrs. Gray looks appealingly at Reverend Lime, who hasn't noticed anything going on around him. She sighs.
Well, who fancies a rock cake while we wait for the guests of honour?
Guests of honour? Oh, are you expecting visitors? I didn't want to gate crash. I was just passing, and...
You know we're expecting visitors. That's why you're here.
I don't know what you...
I'd like a gin. Strong.
Oh, there ain't no gin left. It went around the same time as the sherry.
Then on the rocks?
Fine, I never did like whiskey.
Mrs. Gray marches out to the kitchen. Colonel Coleman looks after her and snorts.
Something funny, Colonel?
Funny? No, no. Good stuff are hard to find is all. I have to hide my burgundy from Mrs. Gray. If she knew where I kept it, well, she'd never get anything done. Neither would I.
Charles, I can think of a few things you could get done.
Not in front of the vicar, darling.
Oh, don't mind me. Oh dear, that sounded voyeuristic. I don't mean it that way. Then again...
He trails off as Mrs. Gray returns, carrying a bottle of whiskey, a tray of ice, and 4 glasses. She sets it down on the coffee table, and the others help themselves during the following dialogue.
Why are there 5 glasses, Mrs. G?
Why do you think? Miss Knight's going to be out any minute.
Lorraine plus us makes 4, Mrs. Gray.
Lorraine plus us makes 5, Vicar. I am still a person, and you wouldn't begrudge me a little drinky, I hope, even if it is whiskey. Men is all the same, isn't they?
I rather like men.
And men rather like you.
It sounds like there's a story there.
Nothing for your ears, Vicar.
I'm thinking of crossing the sea.
Crossing the sea?
Becoming a Catholic priest. They get to hear confessions. I really do think the Lord made me to be a listener.
I ain't confessing none of my sins to you, nor nobody else's, Lord help me.
I'm sure the Reverend Lime would be very selective with his clientele.
Congregants, darling.
Call me Julius.
Call me Camilla.
Darling.
Doorbell sounds. Mrs. Gray jumps up, spilling her whiskey.
Oh, the guests!
She waddles off stage. As soon as she's exited, Lorraine Knight appears at the window and taps.
Miss Knight, I thought you were in your study.
I'm playing a trick on Mrs. Gray.
She deserves it. She's in fine form this evening.
I know.
But how did you get from your study to the front door?
I walked. Oh, I see. There's a secret passage.
A secret passage?
I know. How very Edgar Wallace. No water. Oh, well. Yes, this is a great old house. I'm still finding all the passages and hidey holes.
Priest holes, they call them, Reverend. I do like a good priest hole.
Darling!
Yes, there's a passage that leads from my study to the library. It's behind the bookcase. And there's a passage from the library that ends up here.
Behind the portrait is a panel on hinges. She opens it inwards to reveal a narrow passageway, and everybody peers into the hole.
Good Lord!
Bit of a squeeze.
Looks like fun.
Mrs. Gray comes stomping in, absorbed in her own irritation.
Bloody kids, they come here ringing the doorbell and then they dash off. Lord knows why they bother. This house is miles away from the next one. I don't know. Christian, that's Mr. Gray, my late husband, Vicar. He would never have stood for it, bloody boys. Oh, Lordy, Miss Knight, where did you spring from?
My study, Mrs. Gray. There seems to be some spilled whiskey here.
I ain't a cleaner, if you'll pardon my saying so.
Of course I pardon you, Mrs. Gray, but the stain remains.
I'll just get a cloth.
The doorbell rings again.
Bloody kids. Maybe I should keep a rolling pin in the umbrella stand.
Would you like another drink, my dear?
I prefer freshly squeezed juice.
Oh my.
Charles has a divine way with oranges. All kinds of fruit, really.
Our guests today are a little eccentric, I need to warn you. They are both amateur detectives, and I'm inviting them here today to meet for the first time. I'll be writing their biographies, you see.
So you're a respectable biographer now?
I hope to be.
But I thought you were what are they called? A gossip columnist.
Death threats.
What was that?
It turns out that writing controversial things about the nation's best beloved figures doesn't make one very popular.
Oh, surprise.
So yes, I'm relaunching. and there are no more respectable figures than these detectives. One is a little old lady who lives in a tiny village I've never heard of. Her name is Jessica Brick, and she's staying the weekend with her nephew. The other is...
Mrs. Gray, who has appeared from the doorway, clears her throat and reads from a card.
Mr. Achilles Pierrot.
Achille Pierrot brushes past her and announces himself.
Pierrot, my name, ladies and gentlemen, is Achille Pierrot, and I am, without doubt, the world's finest detective.
The famous Belgian sleuth?
No, monsieur, I'm not Belgian. I am French. Miltoneur, why does everybody hear the accent and they assume that I am Belgian?
He snaps his fingers and Captain Trafalgar appears.
This is Captain Trafalgar, my companion.
How do you do?
Aha! Another military man. Come in. Sit down and have a drink.
Pardon, monsieur, but should not the lady of the house invite us to sit?
You're welcome, of course. My name is Lorraine Knight, and I invited you here.
Bon. You are to write my biography, mademoiselle?
That's right. But let's not talk shop. Have a drink.
Oh, jolly good. I'll have a whiskey and soda, thank you.
And I shall have un sirop de banane.
You what?
Banana syrup.
We ain't got none of that fancy Belgian beverages, Monseigneur.
Oh la la, it is French. I am French.
Charles can squeeze you some bananas, Mrs. Gray. He's very good.
Bananas was Mr. Gray's territory, Mr. Pierrot. You can have whiskey or there's Ribena.
Just give him the Ribena and tell him it's syrup de cassis. That's what the butler always does.
Very good, sir.
Monsieur Pierrot, my name is Julius Lime, and I'm a great admirer of your work. Please do tell us about some of your more interesting cases.
All of my cases are interesting, monsieur. The human nature, it is in finality unpredictable.
Pierrot's last case was quite a baffler.
Was it a sex crime?
No.
You solved it, monsieur.
But of course, I have solved all my cases.
Oh, good egg.
So tell us the story.
Well, we were on a boat and a lady got strangled.
How terrible.
Mon cher Trafalgar, have I not told to you 36 times that you lack in every respect the flair for la dramatique? To say simple, here is a boat, here is a lady. Where is the intrigue? Nom du nom, allow me to tell the story. Mesdames et messieurs, Captain Trafalgar and I were enjoying a luxury holiday, a ship traveling along the most glamorous river in the Western Hemisphere, the River Dart. As you know, this is the go-to destination for all of the socialities and what you call jet-setters in the land. Among the other passengers was a young Australian heiress and on her honeymoon. On the very first night, she died.
Oh my!
Ooh,
The husband did it. He probably embarrassed himself on the first night and had to shut her up.
No, mademoiselle. It was a young lady's solicitor. He had embezzled all her money.
But he was disguised as the butler.
Mon ami, please, let me tell my own story. Oui, the butler. He is free to move as he pleases because nobody looks at the servants.
I look at the servants.
Nobody looks at the servants. But I, the great Achille Pierrot, have eyes that are all-seeing. and ears that are all hearing. With these very ears, I heard the butler make a remark most interesting. He referred to the Marlene College in Oxford, not to the Magdalene College. You understand? But to Marlene. It was perfectly clear he had the Oxford or Cambridge education. There is no other explanation. This was an educated man pretending to be the ignorant servant. Everyone knows that servants are stupid.
I have a triple first from Exeter, Monsieur Pierrot. I just likes housekeeping.
All servants are stupid.
There is a disappointed silence, which Captain Trafalgar breaks by starting a polite round. Pierrot plucks his glass of Ribena from the tray.
Bon. Ladies and gentlemen, I propose the little toast to our very special, pleasant weekend.
And I propose a toast to crime.
There is a tap at the French window and everybody jumps. Standing behind the glass is Jessica Brick.
Oh la la!
What the devil?
Must be the last of my guests.
Madame, you invited somebody else? Somebody to arrive after the great Achille Pierrot?
I say, Old Bean, that's Jessica Brick.
No, it cannot be.
It is, you know.
Lime opens the window to admit Jessica Brick.
Oh, thank you, Vicar. I do hope I'm not intruding. My name is Jessica Brick. Victor, bring my bags. My nephew Victor is with me. Such a sweet boy. He's a writer, and he very kindly drove me to this lovely little house. Well, dear me, I seem to be the last to arrive.
As Mrs. Gray takes Jessica's coat and Lorraine Knight shows her to a seat, Victor Archer unobtrusively lugs several embroidered suitcases through the window.
Miss Brick. Miss Brick, it's an honor to have you here for the weekend, and you too, Mr. Archer. My name is Lorraine Knight, and I invited you.
Oh, yes, dear. I'm not senile yet. Now, where is my knitting?
At home, Aunt Jess.
But aren't we? Oh yes, we're the visitors. You're the hostess.
The great detective strikes again.
Oh, is that a Belgian accent?
I am French, madame.
Oh, very good. Plucky little France and all that.
Miss Brick, Mr. Archer, let me introduce you to everyone. Mrs. Gray, who took your coat, is my housekeeper and general right-hand woman. This is Colonel Coleman, my cousin, his fiancée, Camilla Crimson.
And
The Reverend Julius Lime, who helped you in.
How do you do?
Mum?
And these gentlemen need no introduction, I'm sure. Sorry.
Captain Arnold Trafalgar, OBE, and his friend Monsieur Achille Pierrot.
The great French detective.
That is correct, monsieur. I am the greatest French detective. Indeed, it is no exaggeration to say that I am the greatest detective in the world.
What a funny little man. I feel we shall be great friends.
I wanted the two of you to meet because as the foremost criminologists of our age, you are unique. I've told you, Miss Brick, that I will be writing your biography, and I said the same thing to you, Monsieur Pierrot. But in fact, I am writing a book about both of you.
Sacre bleu. Achille Pierrot, he does not share the page space with senile English ladies.
Steady on, Old Bean.
You are both great detectives, the greatest in fact. That's why I'm writing about you both.
My latest case, you know, is one I call Weevil Under the Sun. The son.
Full under.
The poor Lady Mayoress doubled over and died at the village pie competition. I live in a small village, you see. Very little happens, except for the occasional unpleasantness.
17 murders since you retired from teaching, Aunt Jess.
Well, it keeps my mind active, Victor dear.
Lesser mortals do crossword puzzles.
Yes, dear. As I said, the Lady Mayoress suddenly died in the middle of the tasting a pie, a most peculiar pie. Pecan and Stilton. Heaven knows what young people are thinking. She turned blue and died, and beneath the overpowering stench of the Stilton, I detected the faintest whiff of bitter almonds.
Cyanide, n'est-ce pas?
Quite. But how did it get here? The answer was clear. The young gentleman who made the pie, he also made the jam, cherry jam, and for some reason never revealed he crushed the cyanide in small quantities. He is rather a lax young man, and weevils, those nasty little insects, had gathered in his unsealed flour. Those creatures had crawled across his worktop, carrying tiny pieces of cyanide on their feet and into the pie.
It doesn't sound very scientific.
Why weevil under the sun?
Because, my dear, I found one of the insects squashed to death with a rolled up tabloid newspaper, and that was the vital clue. I never found out who was behind that particular killing.
Mademoiselle, your explanation of the crime is deficient in at least a dozen ways.
That's what I said. That's what the police said.
Well, yes, dear. The hopeless police inspector did say it was more likely that she was killed by her political rival, who had sent her a threatening letter and was found with a syringe on his person. And of course he did confess to the crime, but really, on the whole, I think my solution is much more plausible.
Who wants another drink?
Yes, please.
We're all out.
Don't look at me, miss.
I'll help you find another bottle, Lorraine.
Knight and Coleman exit.
I think I need my cigarettes.
Would you like a friendly ear, Miss Crimson?
Well, it's just the four of us left. Two great detectives and two great psychics. The weather is rather severe. Going to be a snowstorm soon, I fancy. You're a writer, Mr. Archer?
Yes, I am.
He's not a real writer, you know, Captain Trafalgar. Young Victor is a novelist, but a popular novelist. He writes what I believe are called bestsellers.
Oh, yes, of course. The Girl in the Title and the Caravaggio Code. I thoroughly enjoyed those books.
Captain Trafalgar's taste in literature leaves much to be desired. A million pardons, monsieur. I did not mean to cause offense.
None taken.
Victor's books are filled with sex and violence. They don't appeal to me at all, I'm afraid. I don't like to dwell on unpleasantness. A nice little murder, that's enough for me.
Bon.
And you write too, Captain?
Oh, hardly, old bean. I chronicle Monsieur Pierrot's cases and publish them as pamphlets.
With lurid titles, mon ami.
What do you mean? My titles are excellent.
Take, for instance, the case most serious that we investigated at the Chinese takeaway.
Oh, I know that one. Murder at the Oriental Express. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Not to mention the time I went undercover at the convent.
And what, pray tell, is wrong with "And Then There Were Nuns" as a title?
Sacré, I despair.
Anyway, Lurid pays the bills, as will this biography.
Non du nom du nom. This Mademoiselle Lorraine Knight, she is nothing but the common or garden gossip columnist. I am frankly not surprised that she tricked me into believing I would be sole subject of her biography, a joint biography of me and this femme.
And me, dear. I'm rather looking forward to it, although I do wonder if Miss Knight is quite suitable.
The publishers are offering all four of us a considerable advance.
I do not talk about money. It's too vulgar. I pay an accountant to talk about money for me. I pay him very well, in fact.
If Miss Knight wants us to work together, I trust her, Monsieur Pierrot. From one great detective to another, I offer the hand of friendships.
Sacré.
Reluctantly, Pierrot lifts up Jessica's hand and kisses it. Victor and Trafalgar shake hands more humanly.
I read some of her columns in the Daily Ad Hominem. She does seem to hate successful people, especially beautiful young women.
Oh dear. Perhaps I should reconsider.
You will be fine, Mademoiselle Brick.
She was particularly vile about young starlets, if I recall.
But she's trying to change her image, isn't she? I don't know why. Perhaps she'd slandered one too many celebrities.
Or just the wrong one.
Interesting.
Everyone swivels round as Mrs. Gray enters, brandishing a gong. She bangs it unnecessarily and everyone jumps.
Dinner is served, and hurry up, your coleslaw's getting cold.
Sacre bleu.
Now on to scene 3. The same. The stage is empty until Coleman and Miss Crimson enter from the dining room, deep in conversation.
3 courses made from haddock. Remind me never to accept a dinner invitation here again.
Ah, almost enough to make me look forward to getting our own place with our own cook.
Almost.
Oh, forget I said anything.
Are you not looking forward to marrying me?
Oh, don't be like that.
You want to stay here forever with your bitch of a cousin, forever and ever, amen.
Camilla?
Forget it, Charles. Don't you know who I am, who I used to be? I can do better than you know.
You know as well as I that isn't true. Supernovas tend to implode.
Charles!
Was it something I said?
As she exits through the French window, Knight enters from the dining room.
There you are, oh favored cousin of mine. Isn't the little woman here?
He shrugs and she grins, as does he.
Trouble in paradise?
Come here.
He pulls her into a passionate embrace, and they kiss. There is a sound of approaching voices as the other diners make their way towards the room. The couple pulls apart, and Laura Knight darts into her study, which is in blackout. Colonel Coleman pats himself down and strikes an upright pose looking out the window. The first to arrive is Reverend Lime.
Ah, Colonel Coleman, I say, that was an interesting meal. It makes me quite nostalgic for communion wafers.
Jesus never tasted so good.
What was that?
Nothing.
I sensed a certain tension between the 2 detectives, didn't you? If you ask me, neither one knew the other was going to be here. A clash of egos, wouldn't you say?
Lorraine knows what she's doing.
If you say so, of course, but it can't be easy making the jump from being the world's most hated gossip columnist to being a respectable biographer. Did you read her article in the Daily Shirker about our new princess? 1 second, I wrote it down in my notebook. I do like writing down interesting things. Here we are. She wrote, Her Royal Shyness. Oh, slyness. Royal slyness is rather good. Should spend as much time on her duties as she does on her facelifts. She may be a bastion of fashion, but the only trend she will bring to our once great royal family is the trend for divorce. How absolutely cutting!
I'm far too busy for gossip.
Yes, of course. Me too. Where is your lady love?
Pierrot and Trafalgar enter in the middle of an argument. At the quarrel, Lime writes eagerly in his notebook.
No, mon capitaine. Mille tonnerres. I would never have had to put up with this from Colonel Bastings.
Please, Pierrot, stop comparing me to him.
I have to, mon ami, when you are being so obstinate. I ask you for the simplest of things, and you fail to oblige.
For the last time, Pierrot, I am not looking through keyholes. If you want to know how Miss Grey made the, in your words, delicious souffle of the haddock, you can ask her yourself.
But then where is the mystery?
There's no need to spy. It's just not cricket.
Ma foi.
Oh, good evening, Colonel, Vicar.
The Colonel nods a greeting. Lime is absorbed in his scribbling.
How do you spell ma foi? Oh, hello, gentlemen. We were just discussing our host.
You were discussing her. I'm not very interested in her.
Mademoiselle Knight, she is your cousin, monsieur?
That's right.
Mrs. Grey comes thundering into the room.
All right, where is it?
What are you talking about, woman?
My rolling pin, it's been pinched. How else am I going to make the muesli for tomorrow?
One can only imagine.
Surely you don't need a rolling pin to make muesli, Mrs. Grey.
Excuse me, Captain. I don't tell you how to do your job. I ask you muesli without a rolling pin. How else do you get the haddock nice and flat? Well, who pinched it? Come on. I ain't budging till someone confesses. Maybe this is a case for you, Mr. Pierrot.
I do not concern myself with the missing rolling pins, madame.
From the dining room, Jessica, Brick and Victor enter deep in conversation.
She reminds me, dear, of poor Agatha Sayers, the church organist, always swanning around after unsuitable men. And of course, it was because she had no confidence. She didn't want a good husband, you see. She wanted to be... Oh, hello, everybody. We were just talking about we were just talking about a lady none of you have met.
Smooth.
Where is Miss Crimson? I bet she was the one who pinched it.
Pinch what, Mrs. Grey?
The mystery of the missing rolling pin.
Oh, how lovely.
Camilla isn't feeling very well.
They had another row.
What did you say, dear?
The study door opens and Lorraine Knight steps into the room.
Miss Knight, did you take my rolling pin?
What?
I can think of somewhere I'd like to stick that rolling pin.
Oh, my.
Where's Camilla? That was the kind of feed line she thrives on.
They're powdering her nose.
Hiding, sulking.
Never. Just listen up. I have a big announcement. but I'll make it when she comes back. What I've discovered, everyone needs to hear this. I'll be out again in, shall we say, 10 minutes. Some of you might need a cigarette or a bathroom break for this, and for God's sake, find Camilla. I need to type a few letters, and then I'll tell you all everything.
There's some confusion, but she slips back into the study.
This for a detective story, those would be her final words.
Strange thing to say.
I don't hold with detective stories.
They do seem, dear, a tad unrealistic. Little old ladies solving murders. It takes brains, real brains, and agility. It takes someone like me.
Oh, mille tonnerres.
I'm going to find Camilla.
Do you think her big announcement is about my rolling pin?
Mrs. Gray, why don't I help you look for it?
I must say, Mademoiselle Brick, that I thought Lorraine Knight would be writing a biography of me, and me alone. I did not realize I would be sharing the pages with everyone else, let alone...
The greatest detective of all time? I know, dear, but I suppose she wanted something of a contrast. The old-fashioned gentleman's way of doing things and the cutting-edge woman's touch.
Mademoiselle, I must object. Little village trifles, you really think they are on a level with the baffling crimes I have solved in every corner of the world?
Only one case, you know, concerned a trifle. Our dear vicar. Only he wasn't the vicar, not really, but the vicar's presumed dead identical twin brother. He was poisoned with a trifle at the bring and buy sale. Dodgy Victoria sponge.
Imbecile.
Monsieur Pierrot, I don't know how you do things in Belgium, but in England it is not customary to speak to a lady like that.
For the last time, mademoiselle, I am French.
Get a room, you two.
Sacre bleu.
Oh, come on, Pierrot, old bean. Let's go to our bedroom and discuss what Lorraine Knight's revelation might be.
Wait, you share a bedroom?
Pierrot and Trafalgar exit towards the bedrooms.
Don't get any ideas, Victor dear. You clever young man are always full of the filthiest ideas.
Says the woman who went to a jumble sale, saw one mislabeled piece of bric-a-brac, and deduced that it was an elaborate murder was being set up.
Well, dear, I was right, wasn't I? That poor young man.
Murder does rather follow you around.
Perhaps I just have eyes to see.
That makes no sense, Aunt Jess.
Miss Crimson enters through the window. She is breathless and has changed her clothes.
Oh,
Miss Crimson?
I didn't think anyone would be here. And please, darling, call me Camilla.
Thank you, Camilla. What's going on? Your fiancé is looking for you.
Charles? Oh, I haven't seen him. Where is he?
Hunting the grounds. I'll go find him.
She exits, leaving Victor and Crimson alone. Crimson has an eye clearly on the study door.
Oh.
How are you?
Have you ever spoken to a woman before?
Only my aunt. I'm a writer. I get to make up what women say, and that's much easier than dealing with the real thing.
Writer? How frightfully clever.
Do you come here often?
Depends how good the man is. 3 or 4 times a night, sometimes.
But I thought you lived here now.
It was a sex joke. Never mind. Tell me, Victor, what do you think this announcement of Lorraine's is about?
Search me.
Clock strikes the hour.
Well, our 10 minutes are up. She'll be out at any minute.
Jessica appears at the window, Coleman on her arm.
Just this way, Colonel.
Camilla, where the devil have you been?
Lime arrives from the direction of the front door as Gray arrives in the kitchen.
There you are, Vicar. Where did you go?
Pierrot and Trafalgar appear from the same direction.
Did we miss the big announcement?
Nothing's happened yet.
It's late.
Late? I wonder.
Mademoiselle, you don't think...
What? Think what?
Steady on, she's been 11 minutes instead of 10. Aunt Jess and Monsieur Pierrot are detectives. Whenever anything's slightly amiss, they assume murder.
Well, late does have two meanings.
A clue?
That's not how clues work, old bean.
Excusez-moi, mon ami. Which of us is a trained professional?
I didn't realize that reading all of the Sherlock Holmes stories constituted formal training.
Certainly it does.
There is nothing for it. I must break down the study door. Trafalgar, break down the study door.
Perhaps try knocking first.
You're wasting valuable time. But whatever you say...
Jamie, you're on mute.
Sorry, Trafalgar tries the door and mumbles locked, causing a general murmur. He calls for Lorraine Knight, but there is no response. More murmurs. He carefully breaks the door down. Everyone crowds around the doorway to see inside the study. We see the slumped body of Lorraine Knight, resting face first on her typewriter. Camilla Crimson screams. Trafalgar steps into the room and Coleman barges in alongside her. Pushing Trafalgar out of the way, he takes the woman's pulse.
Is she?
I'm afraid so. She's dead.
And that is the end of Act 1. Since we're running quite late, we'll go straight on to Act 2, I think.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so Act 2, Scene 1. The same 10 minutes later, Pierrot, Trafalgar, Jessica, Victor, Reverend Lime, Miss Crimson and Colonel Coleman are all present. The study door is closed. Miss Crimson is swooning in Coleman's arms. Lime is covertly scribbling in his notebook.
Charles, my smelling salts. I think I'm going to faint. Again.
Third time's the charm. It's only been 10 minutes.
It's all right, my dear, it's all right. Mrs. Gray is ringing the police as we speak, and they will come and sort it all out.
The police. Ah.
For once, my dear, I agree with our Belgian friend.
Madame,
The poor Inspector Prod. Whenever he arrives will be useless. He'll trample all over the fingerprints.
How does one?
It never helps to challenge her mate.
Camilla, dear, it's rather like that play we saw the other week. The Potboiler murder mystery set in a country house not unlike this.
Don't be silly, Charles. If this were a bad mystery play, there'd be a snowstorm or something, and the police wouldn't be able to get here.
As a writer, I must say it's true. I've noticed one thing about bad crime writers, and bad playwrights are the worst. They don't know a thing about how police investigations work, and they're too lazy to do the research, so they come up with some dreadfully flimsy pretext to...
Enter Mrs. Gray.
I have summoned the constabulary, but they ain't coming for a while. It's National No Police Week, so all the officers in the country are on a holistic wellness course in Croydon.
Sounds legit.
Damn it all! No police and Lorraine Knight's murderer still in this house. For God's sake, there's only one way into that study and we're all looking at it.
Everyone stares at the door.
So you're saying one of us is the killer?
It looks that way.
Somebody needs to find out the truth before the police get here, if they ever do.
Only one person is up to the task.
me.
I am going to solve this mystery.
Scene 2. The study. Lorraine Knight is still dead. Present are Trafalgar and Pierrot. Both stand over the body, and Pierrot is reading a sheet of paper that's in the typewriter.
This is the compelling account of two great detectives who spent a weekend with me in my stately home, Polycarp Hall. Eh bien, we have solved the mystery, Captain Trafalgar. The victim was delusional. Two great detectives. Pah! There is only one great detective. Clearly, she committed suicide.
Hero, she was stabbed in the back.
Mon ami, it was the little joke. You English never understand the humor. That is why France is recognized, is it not, as the comedy capital of the world?
Was that a joke?
The fact remains that the late mademoiselle was a lady of the judgment most disconcerting. She trusted me, and not that charlatan most unprofessional to sleep in the room which contains her personal safe. This typewriter tells us nothing. Mademoiselle Knight was not typing when she was killed. You can see that she has been placed into this chair. The question is, who did it?
Well, the door was locked from the inside, and the window is fastened shut. Hero, this is a locked room mystery.
Atli, mon ami, I know exactly how the killer got in. Consider the candle wax.
What candle wax?
That candle wax, mon ami. I have been a detective for 30 years. I recognize Victorian candle wax that has been rubbed out of wooden floorboard with a cheap cambric handkerchief when I see it.
Well, what does that mean?
Isn't it obvious?
Oh, you're just showing off now.
Showing off? Moi? How very dare you, you impudent little Englishman. I am simply...
As there is a tap at the door, Pierrot whispers, "Hide!" and the two men hide behind a bookcase, in plain sight of the audience, but hidden from the doorway. Colonel Coleman enters the room nervously. He looks around and, satisfied that he's alone, walks to the body. He reads the paper in the typewriter and starts rifling through other papers on the desk. Finally, he finds something and thrusts it in his pocket. He looks at the body and is overcome with emotion.
Lorraine! Oh, Lorraine! I'm so sorry for everything. Cripes! Fingerprints!
He's kissing the corpse on the lips. He removes a handkerchief from his pocket and wipes every sheet of paper, the typewriter, Lorraine Knight's lips, and then his own. He runs out of the room, closing the door.
Hero, I'm starting to suspect that the Colonel is up to no good.
I don't know why you think that, mon ami.
He just kissed his cousin. Smack on the lips. Doesn't that surprise you?
Mon ami, I am French.
But still, he took something from her desk. And did you notice the handkerchief? Maybe that has something to do with the wax on the floor. But, oh, my head is spinning now. I have so many questions.
That is because you have the mind most disorderly. Allow me to clarify.
All right, first things first. How did the killer, whether or not that killer was Coleman, get into this room?
Easily?
Yes.
Oui.
Care to elaborate?
Or if I must, you see this book here.
No.
This one, The Ethics of Journalism. It caught my eye right away because the late Madame Knight was a gossip columnist. So why would she read up on ethics? No, I know at once that it was not what it appeared to be.
He pulls the book out and a panel in the wall slides away, revealing a secret passage.
Good Lord, a secret passage.
See where it leads.
What? You want me to climb in?
Oui, I cannot do it. These suits are custom made in Paris. You are from the charity shop, so it doesn't matter if they get grubby. You will be able to see. Unless I am wrong, there will be Victorian wax candles in the passageway.
Reluctantly, Trafalgar climbs through the panel. His next dialogue is off stage.
All right, here I go. Yeah, yes, there are candles. Give me a second.
Scene 3. The drawing room. Present are Jessica flirting with the Reverend Lime and Trafalgar accepting a cup of tea from Mrs. Gray.
Mr. Lime, you are so cheeky.
My dear lady, I'm simply stating facts.
Victor, dear, you have to hear the Reverend's story about the bishop and the altar boy.
Or perhaps the altered boy.
Aunt Jess, there's been a murder.
Gossip is the best way of collecting evidence, dear. You must know that by now. So, Mr. Lime?
Call me Julius.
Julius, Miss Knight was a gossip columnist before she was a serious biographer.
Technically, she was still employed by the Daily Kale.
Daily Kale? What's that?
It's the premier national newspaper for right-wing vegetarians, young man.
Yes, her contract was due to expire this month.
Interesting.
So this book was very important for her, an image shift, if you will.
But old habits die hard. She seems to have had some information about someone in this house. I wonder what that might be.
I wouldn't know, dear lady. I'm a simple man of God.
Oh, come now, Vicar dear. I've seen your little notebook. You're the only Anglican vicar who encourages his congregants to take confession. You're like me. You like finding things out.
A healthy interest in human nature is essential to do the Lord's work.
He's just nosy is all.
Do you know what she might have known?
I don't think I could. Oh, all right then. The Colonel's fiancée, Camilla Crimson. She wasn't always called Camilla Crimson. 3 years ago, she was going by Lady Camillione Crimsonetta. And she was engaged to...
The Prince of Slovenia.
Yes, but in her gossip column, Lorraine revealed that the bride-to-be was in fact a go-go dancer known as the Crimson Lady. Before that, she was an actress and celebrity impressionist.
Actresses! I've never trusted actresses. A decidedly strange lot.
The union was dissolved, and she lived in obscurity until she found Charles, Colonel Coleman.
Who happens to be Lorraine Knight's cousin.
And there's something dodgy about him. I met him for the first time last year, and...
Mrs. Gray coughs dramatically. Crimson and Coleman are approaching hand in hand.
Hello, dears. We were just talking about a different Charles and Camilla.
They what?
Hello, Victor, darling. Is that a bio in your pocket, or are you just disappointingly pleased to see me?
Now look here, Miss Brick. Miss Brick, you're supposed to be the last word in sleuthing. Why haven't you solved this case yet? And where the devil is that Frenchman?
I'm getting there, Colonel. I'm getting there. I must say, military gentlemen are always thoroughly impatient. I noticed it with Captain Trafalgar.
He was in the Navy. I was in the Army.
Really? Which regiment?
The Grenadine Guards.
Grenadine?
Who wants rock cakes made with fresh rocks this morning?
Was she joking?
I don't know.
By the way, Miss Crimsonetta?
Yes? Oh, damn.
I knew it!
So you are Camillione Crimsonetta and the Crimson Lady.
Really? I had no idea. Charles, get my cigarette case. An extra long cigarette holder, please.
Yes, darling.
Why didn't you...
Why didn't you tell us?
I didn't realise I had to. It's not a secret. You detectives are always so keen to uncover backstories. You never think to just ask.
Coleman returns with a cigarette case and an extra long holder. Mrs. Gray returns with a tray of very hard rock cakes.
Rock cakes, get 'em before they melt.
I still don't know if she's joking.
She offers round a tray, and each time when someone refuses, she thrusts a cake in their hand. They all find ways of hiding them, except Jessica, who dramatically throws it over her shoulder in a mime of eating. Meanwhile, Captain Trafalgar is appearing from the secret passage behind the portrait of Elizabeth Parrott. He is completely dishevelled, dust-covered and bruised, and in his hand he clutches a document. The rock cake hits him in the face.
Delicious.
Ouch!
Hello there.
Don't mind me. I'll be fine. But thanks for asking. It's probably just permanent concussion.
Oh, nice to see you, Captain Trafalgar.
I discovered a secret passage.
I can see.
It links every room in the house.
Indeed it does.
You don't seem very surprised.
I think everyone knows about those tunnels.
Lorraine Knight told us all when we arrived. I was just telling Miss Brick how she went from her study to the library.
Oh, yes, it's true, dear.
Oh, right. Well, I found something else in the secret passage. Look!
What is it?
The last will and testament of Lorraine Knight. I, Lorraine Persephone Medusa Bodicha Knight, being of sound mind, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament. Everything of which I die possessed, I leave to my loyal housekeeper, Mrs. Mildred Gray, in grateful recognition for services rendered.
Oh, blimey.
Sounds like a motive for murder to me.
Pierrot enters from the courtyard.
Mesdames et messieurs, stop all that you are doing. I, Achille Pierrot, have solved the case. The murderer of Lorraine Knight is in this very room.
Oh, no shiz, Sherlock.
Oh, but I, and I alone, know who did it. Everyone assemble in 30 minutes, and I will reveal all.
We're all here now, man. Why not just tell us?
Because, well, you see, because my good friend Captain Trafalgar has let me down yet again. Trafalgar, go to your room and get changed.
Yes, boss.
Now the rest of you go and do something else. I don't care what, anything. Just do something and then gather here in 30 minutes when all will be revealed.
Scene 4. The same 30 minutes later. The room is empty except Pierrot, who has cleared all the chairs and tables to one side and is standing centre stage. Everyone else traipses on, including Captain Trafalgar in fresh clothes.
Bon, be seated, everyone.
There are no chairs.
You sit with crossed legs at my feet, mademoiselle. This is, after all, my case.
Victor gets Jessica a chair to sit in, but everyone else complies and sits cross-legged, irking Pierrot.
Very well, I begin. We have here a murder most malicious. Mademoiselle Lorraine Knight, a noted gossip columnist who has stabbed so many people in the metaphorical back, was herself quite literally stabbed in the...
Move on, man. The police will be here in a few days.
It's his method. He has to build up before the big reveal.
Bon. There were, to my mind, 3 suspects. Monsieur le Colonel, Mademoiselle his fiancée, and Monsieur le Vicaire.
That's not even real French.
The good Madame Gray, I knew could have no role in the crime because, well, it never is the servants, is it?
Well, sometimes the butler did it.
And I knew that Mademoiselle Brigg lacked the, forgive me, the little white cells, the cranial capacity that would enable such cunning criminal activity. Her nephew I dismissed along similar lines. So, 3 suspects. But which of them did it? Reverend Julius Lime.
Yes?
You are a priest, oui?
Oui, I mean, yes.
Thinking of changing careers? You said as much yourself. You are looking for a new job that enables you to, forgive me, to hear all the latest gossip? And Mademoiselle Knight's post at the Daily Kale was shortly to become vacant. Did she perhaps find out that you were pitching for her position?
I say.
Lorraine said she received some death threats. I thought they were from her celebrity victims, people like me. But what if they were from someone after her job?
If we look in your little notebook, monsieur, I wonder what we would find.
You are very mean.
And then there is Mademoiselle Camilla Crimson, or should I say, the ex-fiancée of His Royal Highness, the Prince of...
We already know about that, dear. You're a little late to the party.
Oh, very well. But here's something you do not know. The good Colonel Coleman broke and entered into the victim's study. I saw him myself with these very eyes, riffling through her papers and, well, property forbids going into details.
What the devil?
What was the piece of paper you stole from the desk of the deceased, monsieur?
It was nothing. It was a shopping list. I wanted to make sure the shopping got done.
Oh, that makes sense to me.
I think it was not something that Mademoiselle had typed herself, but something you had written to her. Perhaps it was a love letter?
God damn you, Pierrot!
I say, old chap, your voice has gone funny.
Goodness, it's just occurred to me, you're not a real colonel. I had my suspicions, you know, when you said your regiment was the Grenadine Guards. It should have been the Geraldine Guards, of course.
A grenadier, Aunt Jess.
Oh, yes, dear.
Oh, damn you all! All right, Lorraine and I were lovers, and you're right. I'm not her cousin. My name is Charlie Bakelite. I used to be a jewel thief before I met Lorraine. We fell in love, but I couldn't shack up with her like. I'm technically still married. Besides, some people want their jewels back, so I changed my name. Became her cousin last year, and we've been living together ever since.
So, our relationship, it was all a lie.
Well, that's hardly surprising, is it, love? Was it? Okay, but you're obvious, but okay when my own agendas too.
Fair point, as you were.
Look, what I did for love. It was stupid, I know.
So you admit that? You see now that you've been a
Bit of a blackguard.
Oh, yes. I can see clearly now Lorraine is gone. I was what you say, but I didn't kill her. She never would have spilt for beans. And besides, I could never kill the woman I loved. Love. I still love her.
Bon, Monsieur Bakelite, you did not kill her.
Dash it all then, Pierrot. Who did? Now look here, you need to see this document. It's Lorraine Knight's will, and in it she states...
I know. I read it when I was looking through her safe a few hours ago. She leaves everything to Madame Gray. But for that, I have the explanation.
Well, I suppose I might as well have come clean. I knew all about Charlie and the missus. I was just happy they was in love. I've helped out best I can.
That's why you rushed off to get the rock cakes when I started asking Mr. Bakelite, about his past.
They wasn't rock cakes, Miss Brick. They was actual rocks from the garden. I had to think fast like.
Excuse me, madame, but I had been hoping to make the revelation. Well, it is of no consequence, because the time has come for the truth. And the truth is that you killed Lorraine Knight. Did you not, Madame Elizabeth Pierrot?
Who?
Elizabeth Pierrot was the owner of Polycarp Hall until she disappeared with the uncelebrated Professor Prune. But she rejected the nouveau riche Mademoiselle Knight moving into her ancestral seat. And so she adopted a disguise and returned to seek her revenge. And now she calls herself Jessica Brick.
Oh, sorry, dear, I do not understand.
Aunt Jess is one of the most famous faces in this room, mate.
Oui, but...
I'm fairly sure we all recognize her, and most of us knew Mrs. Parrot very well. They're not the same person.
It does seem a bit far-fetched, old chap.
Excuse me, my friends. I must have a little think.
Well, thank you all for coming, I suppose.
Well, that was fun. I'm going to my room.
Tell me, Mr. Bakelite, what is it like to be on the run? Do you mind if I make notes?
I still get the money though, right?
It depends on the investigation, Mrs. Gray. We're no further now than we were a few hours ago.
I need a gin and it.
I always wondered what the it refers to. Sex appeal, I think. Like Clara Bow, the it girl.
It needs more gin.
This is all very strange, Aunt Jess. Achille Pierrot is never normally wrong. The whole thing seems extremely messy.
What did you say, Victor dear? That's it. Extremely messy. Yes, I know everything. And oh my goodness, it was clever, calculated, quite wicked in its way. Now listen to me, Victor, dear. You and I need to get this scoundrel to come out of the shadows, and I know just how to do it. But dear me, we'll need help.
What do you mean, Aunt Jess?
I mean, my dear, that it's time to set a trap.
Final scene, the same 20 minutes later. The secret passage has now been closed off. The furniture is still piled to the side, but the room is candlelit. All the windows are covered with curtains. Jessica, Victor, Pierrot, and Trafalgar sit in a circle on the floor. They are grouped around a Ouija board with an upturned glass on it.
Thank you, gentlemen, for agreeing to help me. This is, as you will appreciate, a highly unusual case, and it will take a highly unusual method to solve it. Please let us all join hands. Close your eyes. I'm going to consult the spirits. Oh, great spirits, is there anybody there? Lorraine Knight, we will be contacting you via the Ouija board. Is that all right, dear?
This is absolutely...
We don't really have a leg to stand on right now, old bean.
Non du nom du nom.
You can open your eyes. Now we must all put one finger on this glass as we consult the spirits. Lorraine Knight, are you there?
Yes.
Good, Miss Knight. Do you know that you are dead?
Yes. M. U. R. D. E. R.
Good Lord, that spells murder.
You already knew she was murdered, Trafalgar.
Lorraine Knight, who killed you? Miss Knight?
Candles go out, the room is black, the curtains ruffle with very faint moonlight. We see a silhouette of a woman in a window, and we hear her voice.
I was killed by the man who tells stories. I was killed by Captain Trafalgar.
What the hell is this? How many times do I have to kill you?
Captain Arnold Trafalgar, you killed Lorraine Knight.
Oh, right. Yes, I did. But how did...
The lights come on and we see that the woman in the window is Camilla Crimson.
I was voice mimic before I was a go-go dancer, you know.
Mon ami, you killed Lorraine Knight? But why? She was about to write the true story of our great investigations.
Exactly, you big French petunia. When she said she discovered something, I knew she stumbled on the truth. And that was something I could never let get out.
The truth about Achille Pierrot.
What are you talking about? I have no secrets. I am simply a brilliant detective who has never lost a case.
That's just it. Think about it, Pierrot. Nobody has a 100% success rate. And we established 20 minutes ago that you're hardly a savant. And, you know, don't you think it's a bit funny that every time you go on holiday, someone dies?
I don't know what you're saying, Trafalgar.
Put it this way. You solve a case, I write it up, and we split the royalties. It's been a decent career for me so far, and Lorraine Knight threatened to change that. She threatened to stop me from letting it happen.
You mean...
He means that he's been killing all these people and planting the clues.
Each and every murder you have ever investigated, each one was committed by your friend.
Your colleague.
My confidant. Mon ami. What have you done?
Pierrot, you're very popular. People buy my pamphlets. You have to understand. I'm not just some grubby little criminal with tacky, selfish motives. These murders made me incredibly rich.
Well, he just got a lot sexier.
Victor, keep an eye on Captain Trafalgar until the police get here.
Certainly, Aunt Jess.
In a word, chère mademoiselle, I am devastated. I will, of course, retire from detection immediately.
Doesn't bother me, old chum. I'll write more stories about you from prison, and I'll simply make them up. I'll call them continuation mysteries. You'll forever be my cash cow, my little French phony.
Come with me, you.
What was it that put you onto Trafalgar, mademoiselle?
It was his suit. It was dirty when he emerged from the passage, but Mr. Lime told me that when Lorraine Knight used the same passage, she emerged immaculate. Her clothes were quite clean. That meant he'd been a different route. He had, in fact, gone to the safe to retrieve the will, which would throw light on a different suspect. I realized everything when Victor used that word, messy. His clothes were messy, but they should not have been.
Remarkable.
Elementary, my dear Pierrot. And I remembered that Miss Crimson here was a voice artiste in the past, so I asked her to help me out.
And I was happy to oblige.
Miss Crimson, I think that Monsieur Poirot is in a state of shock. Do you think you could take care of him?
Sure I can. I know my way around Frenchmen.
There's only one mystery, Victor dear, that I was not able to solve. What happened to Mrs. Gray's rolling pin?
That was me. I hid it in the piano in the ballroom. She was threatening to make more haddock pie tomorrow.
Oh, Victor.
I still can't believe it, you know. Achille Poirot's sidekick, killing all those people just so he could write up some good stories.
Yes, dear. It's sad, isn't it, when one cannot escape the world of fiction. I, for one, am happy to live in the real world.
Well, you stumble across your fair share of corpses, Auntie.
Gray enters with a telephone, the cord trailing. Victor and Jessica look shamefaced.
Sorry to bother you, Miss Brick, but there's a phone call for you.
Oh, thank you. Hello? Yes, this is she. What is it? Oh, calm down, my dear. Victor, it's the dear vicar's wife from the village. What? What did you say? A man has been murdered at the St. Clement's Belfry? And he was what? Surrounded by oranges and lemons? And the neighbouring... What? St. Martin's Church? A corpse covered with 5 farthing pieces? Yes, dear. I'll get a taxi. Victor, fetch my cape. We have a mystery to solve.
The end.
Hooray. We did it.
Thank you very much.
We did it.
Great job, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for making
Sorry about my
words
technical things in the middle.
And that was my best British accent.